two top categories are consistently in the 90s, and we're just a smidgen below the 90 in
10th grade.
at least one of those results. But overall, I think, you know, where we are is good. Again, we have to address the law, right?
And I think Michael's right. I mean, there have been a few areas we've gone down, but, you know, with a few exceptions, if you look at our middle schools, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, and their combined performance in both math and English language arts in terms of combined proficient and advanced, with exceptions at 2 grades, our elementary schools are in the top 15% or higher, with some in the top 3, top 6%, a number of grades in the top 10%. If I'm looking to move to a community and I see how much a community spends on education versus what you get for education, that's pretty good. If I can go to a school that's in the top 10, 15% in the state, based on what I see them paying, and it's not good enough. It's never good enough. It should always be better. I agree with Cliff 100%. I think it's foolhardy to think that you're going to get every kid in every school in every city and town to be at advanced or proficient. But maybe that's an old way of thinking.
Well, the MCAS is also a tool for us to kind of reassess and see where we are, and I think the picture that we've seen painted tonight and with historical data is very promising. This is the time now to realign and to evaluate what we're doing. I think it's very appropriate that we can use this as a tool, and I like seeing data like this where I get a slice of, you know, what's going on at each grade level. But when you actually go back and look at the data and you look at each grade and you look at the progress over time and compare it to other communities, we're doing so well that you could almost say, well, what's to justify additional resources in this area when we could be doing other things to enhance our art program, and you know, so there are some tough issues that must be addressed, but I'm very proud of our students, and I'm looking forward to the school doing some assessments and giving some teachers some real feedback that help them identify students before they fall through the cracks. That's key, so very happy with this.
But there are those, you know, the 8th grade was, to me, stuck out like a sore thumb this year in terms of the performance. Mm-hmm. And as Cliff said, from group to group, from year to year, you have different kids every year. So different kids are going to produce different results. Now you hope to get them more within a close range, so you're not having, you know, those kind of big gaps. But it is important. Cliff, I think, made a real important point. The 10th grade performance,
Yep.
especially in math, is
That's the bottom line, right?
outstanding.
It's the 10th grade.
And, you know, in English language arts, it's great. It's not outstanding as it is in math, but it's a real positive performance. And the science, I mean, and that science test is, for a lot of districts, has been a real issue with kids passing that test so they can graduate from high school. And we really haven't had a lot of issues with that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can we break this out where we can actually see the different groups, the different cohorts, and how they improve through the MCAS? There's no way of doing that.
The MCAS tests were never statistically linked from one grade level to the next
That's
to be
such a
used for
bummer.
comparative cohort statistical analysis.
Longitudinal analysis would be so great.
But they do now have the growth model. And the growth model is a way for us to take a look at longitudinal analysis. And we can come back in the future to give you, I thought all of that information tonight would be, first of all, very long and overwhelming.
Yeah.
Because it's lots of numbers. But it does warrant taking a look at, because now we have cohort analysis, which we haven't had up to this point. And the first test was administered in 1998. Now, again, we can take a look at a grade level over 3 years, a minimum of 3 years, to do trend analysis, but that's focused on curriculum, not on students. And I do want to say that we've started taking a look at each of the individual schools and the individual grades in mathematics, English language arts, and we've seen some significant growth in some of our schools over the last 3 years in terms of curriculum. In some cases, 29 points of improvement over 3 years, 29 percentage points. That's significant,
astounding.
and that's at the elementary level. The high school has been consistently growing, but to see some of this growth at the elementary level is it's very heartening. Now, do we have some areas where we need to focus? Yes, we do. and we have some work to do in some areas. But overall, as Mel said, our students, when you compare our students against students in North Reading, we see some significant growth. And that's what you're supposed to do with MCAS. I know that Boston.com ranks, but right on the DESE website, they will tell you that the results were never meant to be ranked and comparing one
That is
town
a-
to another.
It really is an unfortunate thing, but people rely on rankings so much, and
Yeah,
I
I
know,
know.
we're a very competitive group of, we talk about our sports.
We do.
Has to be winning, but I feel like, when we look at rankings, we take it with a grain of salt. This is a great community to live in
Mm-hmm.
and to raise a family and to continue to, move forward with a student achievement, and we get a lot for the money we spend. And if we could spend that much more, we would get a lot, I feel, a lot more out of it by giving teachers tools and reducing the burden on families. But we're right where we need to be. I really don't care what Andover or Linfield is doing. So that's just me.
I agree the scores are good. The only thing is that the MCAS are considered core proficiencies. And we seem to have a lot of core proficiencies in the proficient category. To me, if I was to compare myself against, the kids that are going to MIT and Harvards of the world, they would be more in the advanced proficient. But Patrick has made a comment pertaining to that he's going to be working on that, or the school will be. So, sure, I'm happy with the scores, but if you look at it, a lot of the bars are proficient for core proficiencies in that subject. We're not asking them to be another Shakespeare.
Oh,
We're just
of course
asking
not.
them to understand the English
But we're well
for that
above,
subject.
we're well above the state average in most communities and advanced. And if you
I'm not
look
sure
at,
that's enough for me.
if you look from 2007 to 2010, in the 17 grades measured in the different subjects, of the 17, 12 from 2007 to 2010 have increased in the advanced category. And I think that's what we're looking for. 5,
Right, no, I understand. I'm just pointing out some stats.
but you're limited by your
Predominantly
resources.
of our, right, but predominantly, if you look at these bars, we're proficient.
I'm fine with being
As is most of the
proficient.
state, as is most of the world.
Proficient, there's the apples to oranges. Look, I went to Ivy League institutions, and I tell you, I failed a lot of these tests when I was there. Our kids are not just to be measured by MCAS, as many people would like to say. But if we're a proficient level for a lot of our students, and we see the progression over time of our students at grade 10 now, blowing all their communities out of the water, we've done well. This is just going to help us, slice our curriculum and do some analysis of what our programs are. But we have to look everything into the big picture. How many of our students are graduating? How many of our students are going to college? What were their SAT scores? How many people are taking AP courses? To me, our picture is fantastic, and this just helps us identify and squeeze out a little bit more where we can be. And we have those target areas now. We have targets, which is great. I hear you. I like our kids to be at advanced level, but it's not always the greatest predictor, in my view, except for a holistic picture.
Yeah, I agree. In addition, I think you take a look at where our students are going to college,
Oh,
how
it's
they're doing in
phenomenal where they
college.
go and
And,
I'm blown
all of that
away
has to be-
after every time we go to graduation. I'm like, wow, I'm
And
amazed.
I think all of that has to be combined. Obviously, the goal is to get as many students advanced as we can, and I'm sure but our requirement is to get all of them either proficient
Proficient
or
or-
advanced by 2014, correct? Although my guess is we'll see some changes in that requirement as we move along.
You might see. But again, setting that bar very high is the goal. So now that's what
Yep.
that's what we're working toward. There may be changes coming, but we're still gonna go for that bar right now. So
But, let's point out again, grade 10 math, 74% advanced.
That's phenomenal.
Grade
good.
10 English language arts, 38% advanced. I'd like to see that higher, but 51% proficient. And grade 10 science and technology, 34 advanced, 54 proficient. And we'd like to see that higher. But again, comparing math and science to the rest of the state, we're in the top 10 to 12% of state high school performance. Not so much on English language arts, we're in the top 25, 30%. Any other
Thank you,
questions?
Patrick. This was great.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks.
thank you.
Hey, do we have any more guests? I think that's our last guest for tonight, right?
That's it for tonight.
Now we can move into more fun issues like an update on the MSBA SSBC.
But that's
Uh,
exciting stuff.
yeah.
What do you,
Kathy, do you want to lead off here and let us know where we're
Sure.
at, and then maybe Jerry might want to address a few things?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay, the SSBC Secondary School Building Committee met on Tuesday, September 14th, and I provided an overview of activities that had taken place over the summer, and I shared the MSBA recommendation of 740 students as the design enrollment for the building project, and the SSBC unanimously voted to accept that recommendation. The design enrollment certification form was signed and returned to the MSBA. You have a copy of that letter and the signed form in your packets. Exhibits A and C were also completed by the SSBC, and you have copies of those in your packet as well. Exhibit A identified the allocation of funds up to $1 million for the feasibility study and apportioned that according to the criteria set forth in Exhibit A. And Exhibit C identified a timeline of activity that ends with the town ballot vote to move the project forward. So you have those in your packet. The SSBC identified the need to appoint the high school principal and the superintendent as voting members of the SSBC. And so I'm requesting that the school committee attend the Board of Selectmen meeting scheduled for October 4th, 2010, beginning at 6 p.m. in room 108 at the North Reading High School prior to town meeting. We are scheduled for a 6:30 meeting that afternoon. So if it is okay with the board, if that's something that you agree to, then I will let the Board of Selectmen know and we can move this forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yes.
That works out good, actually, to be able to do it at town meeting. That's good.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, the MSBA is requesting an update of membership on the North Reading Secondary School Building Committee. You'll see in your packet that I included the form that needs to be completed and updated. Some of the members of the SSBC have changed in the last year, and so they're asking that this be completed. I wanted you to see this, and Jerry, I wanted to know how you would like this to be facilitated. Do you want me to give this to Chuck? Would you like this?
No, I think you can do it.
Give this to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The one question I have, and maybe Jerry can't answer it, are we represented by each of the categories?
I believe that we are.
Okay.
The last list I saw was the one Keith had given us, and I think we have somebody in each of those categories.
Because there's one here that has an asterisk, I think, or maybe that's just from the print. It says administrative or manager.
I think that's actually the town administrator.
Well, no, he would be the local chief
I'm
executive officer.
sorry, you're right, local chief
And he's
executive,
also
yeah.
the MCPPO
Yeah, yeah.
certified. I know
Yeah, yeah.
one person can have more
Yeah,
than.
I'm not sure
Bottom
about
of
that
page 2.
particular category.
The asterisk is explained.
Oh, so he's all three of those.
Yes, he is.
Okay, so it is the town manager.
Wow, Greg's got 3 positions.
Yeah, I think we have somebody in each one of those.
Okay.
We obviously had to appoint both the superintendent and the high school principal to fill that out.
Right.
But yeah, that'd be fine if you,
Is that okay?
Thank
Okay,
you,
very
absolutely.
good.
do we now have too many voting members on the
I don't know,
on the
Bob?
committee?
Bob
Is there a
Messeri
limit?
mentioned something about that, but I'm not
too
sure.
many by what? By,
Do we have a
Bob's-
limit of the number of people who can be voting members? I
don't know
just
this-
remember this being something that
I'm-
came up, and it might have been Bob Museri.
Yeah, it was Bob that
it?
brought it
Was
up.
I didn't bring the list with me, but I think there are currently 11
11
11
members.
voting
members
And
that are
there'll be
voting.
2 additional, including the superintendent and the high school principal. I think there'd be
Okay.
13.
I just
But
wanna make sure we're in
I think that's why they
compliance.
want us to submit it, to be honest with you, so they can
Right.
review it, make sure we have
I
all
wanna
the
see
categories
this.
filled, and make sure we have the appropriate number of voting members.
And they will let us know if we have too many or if we
Okay.
don't have enough.
They'll let us know.
Yes,
Okay.
they will let us know. And the next SSBC meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, October 19th, beginning at 6:30 here in the middle school library.
Okay. Want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that the school committee is endorsing unanimously and 100% the feasibility study to address the secondary school project in its entirety, which means both the middle school and the high school. That's been our position, and that's currently our position. I think last week in the newspaper, it got a little misunderstood. The school committee meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago, we had a lot of discussion and debate on this enrollment issue. We also had discussion and debate and good questions from Mike, and I think Karen a little bit too, about, well, if they're only asking for the high school enrollment, is the MSBA addressing the scope of the project that we proposed, both the middle school and the high